It's a lesser known secret that Asus do actually have a second case, because a lot of us are aware of the big Helios, but they do actually have the TUF GT501 as well. Now this case comes in black and white, but they do two versions which I kind of like, the other than the black and white, but they do a version without fans. So with the fans, as I have here, because it does come with three RGB fans in the front and a 140 in the back, this is £160, but they do a fanless version, so you can fill it full of your own chosen fans for just £100, and I actually think that that's a fairly decent choice to make. I can only find the black without the fans though, rather than the white as well, which I thought was a little bit of a shame. But anyway, the Asus TUF GT501 case review. I actually did have to ask for this because they didn't seem to want to, when it first got released, it didn't get sent out to press very much. And I saw this pop up on a couple of websites, like Scan and Overclockers, and I was like, I hadn't seen that case, and it was white, and it actually is white rather than the Helios, which is white inside and then everything else is silver. So I wanted to take a look, and that is why I'm making the video today. So get yourself comfy, it's time for a TTL case review. I always start at the top and at the front, and then you have your USB 3 in the front here, a separate headphone and microphone. A lot of them have combo ports now, and then you have your power switch over here, which is like a Blockbuster's hexagon. This removable magnetic, we'll say dust filter, but most of us will end up having it with the some fans and air blowing out of it, so you could remove it for better airflow. But weirdly, this doesn't actually come fitted when you get the case. It's separate in the box, and it's the same with the dust filter in the front as well, which I found kind of perplexing. But magnetic dust filter on the roof with a nice kind of pattern on it, so it's not just plain. And then you can also see the straps for carrying. Now I have swung this around, and they are very good straps. They're like really nice, soft, woven straps. Sometimes the material can feel a bit hard and horrible. These are actually all right. With plenty of girth, they don't feel like they're going to break. The clips don't feel like they're going to break either, so it's fairly well engineered. And what you can see in the roof is mounts for 240mm fans or 320mm fans. The mounts are not offset though, they just sit in the middle, but this is one of the few cases that I've seen recently where this isn't really going to cause many problems with hardware on the inside of the case, which I'll show you in a minute why. The actual front of the case here can be removed, and it is metal front on with the white, and then everything else is plastic. You can see the perforations down the side for airflow, and this is the dust filter, which comes separately in the box, and then you have to fit it yourself, which I found quite strange. But anyway, it does come with three TUF branded 120mm RGB fans in the front. I'll show you the little controller that you've got with the RGB. So if your board doesn't support RGB, there is a manual switch in the back that you can use to control it. Weirdly though, it comes with a Molex connector, which again I'll show you in a minute, because they kind of, it leads you to believe that they just want you to run them at full speed, because if you plug them directly into the power supply, which is as it comes out of the box, then they will just run at full speed, and they're not the quietest fans in the world, sadly. But anyway, the design of the case is quite nice. I haven't put the case on my spinny thing, which is silly. Now I know this did get used, or not used, but it opened by Asus, and they dented the side panel, which annoyed me greatly. But anyway, the side panel, the feet for the actual side panels go in the feet of the case. I think that's why I said feet. The bottoms of the side panel actually go into the feet of the case, which is unique, because normally you're trying to fuff around with rails in the bottom of the case itself, but these genuinely go into the feet, but it does mean that you get a fair bit of clearance around the back of the case itself. There's a decent amount of room. You've got like 25 millimeters of room between the outside of the case and the motherboard. There are tie downs all over the shop for you to be able to connect your cables with, but you do get some Velcro tabs going up the side to help keep things that little bit tidy if you want. Although, if I'm honest, I think they could have done with some extra ones down the side, but you can get everything in, and you can get two 3.5 inch drives in the back, or solid state drives for 2.5. There are two more mounts over here, and with these mounts you can again fit 2.5s or 3.5s, but you can put another three 2.5s up here, but they're on the other side. The access for this is round on the other side of the case, which I'll talk to you about in a minute, as when we talk more about the power supply as well. Large cutout for the motherboard backplate, CPU backplate, whatever you want to call it, which gives you plenty of access, and you shouldn't have to worry about big backplates or whether they sit offset or anything. And then you do have a couple of routing grommets at the top for the top access to the motherboard. The three down the side of the motherboard come with rubber grommets, but if I'm honest, because there's none up here and there's none for these, kind of feels like they didn't really need to bother fitting these ones. Round the back there is a dust filter for your power supply, and it's just a relatively standard layout. You can adjust the 140mm fan, and there's about 20mm of movement for that. But if you had a 120mm fan in there, there would be a lot more movement. You have also got a couple of vertical slots here, should you wish to explore putting your graphics card in that way, if you're that way inclined. When we come round to the other side of the case, take the door panel off. And the first thing, and this was something I did want to say, there are a couple of screws in the bottom for the power supply cover. Now, once you've removed those, which I already have done, you can see that you get a couple of holes here, or routing points, that you can put your power supply, your graphics card cables up through if you want. I'm still quite old school and go round this side, but I've not actually worked out what this is for. It does sit above the mounts here for the 3.5 inch or the 2.5 inch hard drives if you wanted to use them, but it doesn't really give you a great deal of access. Now I have to concentrate here because it can be, there we go, once you're on you're okay. There's just not a massive amount of access. I mean, if you were to try and go in from this side, you can't get at the screw that's on this side. So I genuinely don't know what the idea with this was, because it's not for fitting a radiator in the front, because it's just not big enough for a 120mm fan, and I don't personally think it gives you enough access for the hard drive side of things either. But these are removable, and I have to say, if it was my build, my case, these would literally get removed and thrown in the bin. And now I've said it out loud. See, look, we're learning today. Now I've said it out loud, and I could edit it out. It's just dawned on me that we have a reservoir, reservoir mount in the bottom of the case. Can you see it there? So if you were to remove these, you could then fit your pump in the bottom, which would mean you remove that, and then you could have radiator in the front and then your pump reservoir coming up here. Great idea, but just poorly done in reality, because it doesn't particularly look nice. There's no clean lines or anything. Yeah, I think if I was going to go water cooling on this, I'd end up probably making some sort of custom power supply cover, but you can rip that out anyway. Now I've seen it, you can put a pump and reservoir on the bottom and have it up the front. That will mean you'll be able to have a 30mm thick radiator in the front as well. But while we're talking about water cooling, as you can see, there is actually a lot of room from the motherboard to the top of the case. There's actually 90mm of room up there, which means you could easily get your 60mm thick fat radiator in the roof with a single set of fans, or a 30mm thick radiator with 2 sets of fans if you wanted to go push-pull, and have more than enough room. And this does mean that when we kind of like pan back, it means you could comfortably get 2 360mm radiators in this case and a pump res combo, because you can have a radiator in the front, radiator in the roof, and your pump and reservoir in there. And I think that's quite a decent thing to be able to do with a case that could cost as little as £100. So as you can see, we have the 3 2.5-inch hard drive mounts over here. As I said, there are no grommets there. That's where your cable and your data and everything will go through. But it does mean that if you've spent a decent amount of money on a 2.5-inch drive, then you can mount it there and make a big deal out of it. If you're not going to use these, then I think I'd probably end up removing them and putting something up the side. I actually think that if you were to make some acrylic and cover it up, that you could easily then mount your reservoir and your pump over here and have it a little bit more on display, rather than having a hole in your cover. I think you could make a nice display of it over here, still have decent amount of room for rads and stuff. There are quite a few options in reality. Now, as I said, the GT501 does actually come with the 3 front fans connected to a Molex connector and then fan splitters. And the idea with that is, in reality, it's because they want you to basically run them at maximum speed. And I didn't like that. So I actually didn't, well, I did use it for the maximum speed run, but I took it off so that I could test all the other things as well. So, because we do 600 RPM tests, 1000 RPM tests, and then maximum speed tests. Now, with the maximum speed, 1300 RPM, they're not quite fans. They're not quite at all. And then I obviously had to connect it to the motherboard software as we would normally do, turn the fans down to 1000, then turn the fans down to 600. Weirdly, the performance didn't seem to change much, depending on whether you had them on maximum speed or 600 RPM. It's one of the weirdest cases I've tested for a long time. Now, as I did say to you, there is a controller in the back. You can change the fans . There we go. And you just have to scroll through to find the one that you want. And you could be there for a while. That's not too bad. Anyway, so you don't have to have them connected to your motherboard if you don't want. I will say though, that like I've said, the fans are noisy when they're on maximum speed, which is how they give them to you. But you can turn them right the way back down to 600 RPM and the performance in the case doesn't really change. So I actually personally think that they're not the greatest fans. Sure, if you just wanted 3 RGB fans, which are effectively quite cheap because you get them for an extra 60 quid, so it works out at £20 each, with the controller and everything, for the ease of use. And if you were just going to just buy the case and just fit your kit and forget about it, then you're probably going to be okay. But for me, I think I'd actually like it if there was a white version like this that you could just buy empty and then fill it up with water cooling, because in reality, a £100 case that you can put 2 360mm radiators and a tube reservoir in with no problems, no modifying needed, I actually think that would be quite a good deal. So the case itself, it's okay. Has a bit of a cheap vibe going on with it. It's not a premium thing, but I guess that's why it's got the TUF branding and not Strix like the Helios. But it does deliver quite a bit. Performance, as you've seen, is all right. It's not been outshone. It shouldn't be embarrassed. It's an acceptable case. But I do think that the 160, it's okay with all the fans in. But I think the calling card for this is for those of you out there that know that you're going to want to upgrade fans and know that you want a project and you're going to build yourself something nice, grab the one that's just £100 without the fans, get some decent fans in there, and the layout is actually going to suit you really well. But if you're looking for something like this that you can water cool, again, that makes your life even easier. This top panel can come off fairly easily if you wanted to get busy with paint as well, because you could pop the metal front off, pop that top off, paint it grey, paint it yellow, paint it, I don't know, pink, paint it whatever colour that you want in one of your Saturday weekends where you just want something different to do. This could actually be a fairly easy case to customise as well. And in reality, you could paint that or wrap it while you're at it. In fact, no, you wouldn't want to wrap it because of all the holes. But you do have a lot of options with this case to keep you busy. I'm obviously a modder. I like to tinker. I like to make things my own. I like to customise. This would actually be a very easy basis for something that you could work on over the next few months for not a lot of money as well. So, there you go. The Asus TUF GT501. It's an okay case. It's an acceptable case. I just think maybe it should have been a little bit cheaper. But with the prices of like the boxes now because of shipping around the world and just COVID and containers and stuff, I get it. It's all right. I'm not offended by it. And like I said, I personally think this is going to be the sort of thing that if you're a modder, you might see that there's quite a bit that you can do with it. But anyway, that has been my review of the Asus TUF GT501. Please let me know what you thought in the comments underneath. We've been having like internet cookies and internet cheesecakes and internet weird things today for the regulars. So today's thing is we're going to have an internet latte together. I think I'm going to end up doing like loads of different types of coffees now, aren't I? Anyway, so internet latte in the comments if you got right the way to the end without skipping. And you guys definitely deserved it because I'm always waffling on. But anyway, let me know what you think. Please like, subscribe, comment. Please come back again and share with your friends if you so wish. But for now, with another video for you, this has been the tiniest one out. Ding! Love you, sis.